Marcus Johnson was a 12-year-old boy who loved everything about fitness. Every day after school, he would rush home to watch workout videos on his tablet. He practiced push-ups in his bedroom, ran laps around the neighborhood park, and dreamed of growing strong like his father. His father, Raymond Johnson, was not just any fitness enthusiast. Raymond owned Elevation Fitness Center, one of the most respected gyms in the city. 15 years ago, Raymond had started with a small loan and a big dream. He worked day and night to build a place where everyone felt welcome to work on their health. Fitness is for everybody, Raymond always said. This was not just a saying but the foundation of his business. The gym had grown from a small space with a few machines to a two-story building with the latest equipment, group exercise rooms, and even a juice bar. People from all parts of the city came to train there. Raymond made sure to hire staff who believed in his vision of making fitness accessible to everyone. Marcus had grown up watching his father build this business. On weekends and school holidays, he would visit the gym and observe how his father treated every member with respect and kindness. The members loved Raymond, and many had been coming to Elevation Fitness since it first opened. "One day, I want to help Dad run the gym," Marcus told his mother one evening as they prepared dinner. His mother smiled. "Your father would love that. But first, you need to learn all about fitness and how to run a business." Marcus nodded seriously. "I'm already learning. Dad lets me help sometimes on Saturdays." This was true. Raymond had created a special youth training area where Marcus and other young people could safely learn about fitness. Marcus knew all the rules, which equipment was safe for him to use, when to ask for help, and how to clean up after himself. The regular gym members all knew Marcus. They would smile and wave when they saw him. Some even asked him for tips, since they knew he was learning directly from the owner. "That boy knows more about proper form than some trainers I've had," Ms. Williams, a longtime member, once commented to another gym-goer. Marcus took pride in being recognized as Raymond's son. He carried himself with confidence but never with arrogance. Raymond had taught him that respect was earned through actions, not titles. One Friday evening in October, Raymond told Marcus he had a surprise. "How would you like to start coming to the gym on your own tomorrow? You're old enough now, and you know the rules." Marcus's eyes widened. "Really? I can go by myself." Raymond nodded. "I have a business meeting in the morning, but I can drop you off. You'll use just the youth section as usual, but you won't need me to be there the whole time." For Marcus, this was a big step. It meant his father trusted him. It meant he was growing up. "I'll be super responsible, Dad. I promise," Marcus said. "I know you will," Raymond replied, putting his hand on his son's shoulder. "You're my son. You represent what Elevation Fitness stands for." Little did either of them know that this Saturday morning would become one of the most challenging days in the history of Elevation Fitness Center. Neither could have predicted that a new trainer would make a decision that would test the very values the gym was built upon. Marcus went to bed that night excited about his new independence, completely unaware of what awaited him the next day. Derek Mills arrived at Elevation Fitness Center 3 weeks ago with an impressive resume. He had certificates from top fitness academies and experience working with professional athletes. His interview went well, and the gym manager, Tony, was quick to hire him. "We need someone with your skills," Tony had told Derek on his first day. "Mr. Johnson wants only the best trainers for our members." Derek nodded and smiled. "I'll make sure your members get top-quality training." What Tony didn't notice during the interview was how Derek's smile dropped when certain people walked by. He didn't see how Derek's eyes narrowed when he looked at some of the gym members. Tony was busy managing the gym's daily operations and trusted the hiring process. Raymond Johnson, the owner, had been away on a business trip when Derek was hired. He trusted Tony's judgment with new staff. When Raymond returned and met Derek briefly, the trainer was polite and professional. Derek made sure of that. "It's an honor to work at such a prestigious gym, sir," Derek told Raymond with a firm handshake and direct eye contact. Raymond appreciated what seemed like a professional attitude. "Welcome to the team. Remember, at Elevation Fitness, we're a family." But behind Raymond's back, Derek was different. He spent more time with the wealthy members. He offered extra help to certain people while ignoring others. He made small comments that made some members uncomfortable. Mrs. Patterson, a retired teacher who had been a member for 10 years, noticed Derek's behavior. She saw how he treated people differently based on how they looked. She heard the slight change in his tone when speaking to certain members. Something's not right about that new trainer, Mrs. Patterson told her friend during their morning workout. Have you noticed how he acts around some people? Her friend nodded. I thought it was just me imagining things. It's not your imagination, Mrs. Patterson said firmly. I've been watching him. Derek was careful, though. He never did anything that could clearly be called wrong. His comments were subtle enough that people questioned if they had misunderstood. His preferential treatment could be explained away as just being friendly with regular members. Some of the staff had noticed too. Maria, who worked at the front desk, saw how Derek would enthusiastically greet certain members while barely acknowledging others. Did you see that? She whispered to her coworker after Derek had warmly welcomed a wealthy businessman while completely ignoring the woman who came in right after him. Yeah, he does that a lot, her coworker replied quietly. But no one had brought their concerns to management yet. Some weren't sure if what they were seeing was really wrong. Others didn't want to cause trouble without clear evidence. Meanwhile, Derek was becoming popular with a certain group of members. They requested him specifically for training sessions. He started making good money with private clients. This is working out perfectly, Derek told himself as he counted his tips one evening. These are the kind of clients I want to work with. The day before Marcus was to come to the gym alone, Derek had a conversation with another trainer in the break room. I think we need to be more selective about who comes into this gym, Derek said quietly. Some people just don't fit the image of a premium fitness center. The other trainer looked uncomfortable. That's not what Elevation Fitness is about. Mr. Johnson built this place for everyone. Derek shrugged. Well, maybe Mr. Johnson needs to rethink his business model. Quality over quantity, right? The other trainer didn't respond and left the room. That night, Derek went home feeling confident in his position at the gym. He had no idea that the next day would bring a confrontation that would expose everything he had been hiding. He had no idea that his true character was about to be revealed in the worst possible way. Saturday morning arrived bright and clear. Marcus woke up early, too excited to sleep. He carefully packed his gym bag with his water bottle, a small towel, and his favorite workout clothes. Ready for your big day? Raymond asked as they got in the car. Marcus nodded eagerly. Yes, sir. I've been waiting for this forever. The drive to Elevation Fitness was filled with Raymond giving last-minute reminders. Remember, stay in the youth section unless you need water or the bathroom, Raymond said. And if you have any problems, call you right away, Marcus finished with a smile. I know, Dad. When they arrived, the gym was busier than usual. Saturday mornings always brought a crowd of weekend warriors and regular members trying to start their weekend with a good workout. I'll pick you up in 2 hours, Raymond said, checking his watch. My meeting shouldn't run longer than that. Marcus hugged his father goodbye and walked confidently through the front doors. Maria greeted him from behind the front desk. Good morning, Marcus. On your own today? She asked with a smile. Dad said I'm old enough now, Marcus replied proudly. Well, look at you growing up, Maria said. Have a good workout. Marcus walked past the main workout area, waving to several members he recognized. Mrs. Patterson was on her usual treadmill and gave him a warm smile. 2 other regular members nodded in his direction. The youth section was at the back of the gym, with specially sized equipment for younger users. Marcus put his bag down and started his warm-up routine just like his father had taught him. After 15 minutes, Marcus realized he had forgotten to fill his water bottle. He walked to the water fountain near the main workout area. As he filled his bottle, he noticed a new piece of equipment in the corner. Wow, he whispered to himself. Dad didn't tell me about the new cable machine. Curious, Marcus walked over to take a closer look. He had seen his father use similar machines and was interested in how it worked. He didn't touch it, just stood examining it with fascination. Hey, what are you doing here? A sharp voice came from behind him. Marcus turned around to see Derek Mills walking toward him with a stern expression. I'm just looking at the new machine, Marcus explained politely. Derek crossed his arms. This isn't a playground, kid. Where are your parents? My dad dropped me off, Marcus said. I usually work out in the youth section. Derek looked Marcus up and down, his eyes narrowing. Do you have a membership card? Marcus hadn't needed to carry a card before since everyone knew who he was. I don't have it with me, but I come here all the time. Derek cut him off. No card, no access. That's the rule. By now, a few members had started to notice the conversation. Mrs. Patterson slowed her treadmill, watching carefully. But I'm allowed to be here, Marcus tried to explain. My dad. Let me guess. Derek interrupted with a mocking tone. Your dad is someone important. I've heard that one before. Marcus felt his cheeks grow hot with embarrassment as people started to stare. My dad is Raymond Johnson. He owns this gym. Derek laughed. Sure he does. And I'm the mayor of this city. He looked around at some of the newer members who were watching. Kids these days, right? Such imagination. Mrs. Patterson stepped off her treadmill and began walking toward them, but Derek was already putting his hand on Marcus's shoulder, steering him toward the exit. Come on, time to go. We can call your parents to pick you up, Derek said loudly. But I'm telling the truth. Marcus protested, his voice rising with frustration. Lower your voice, Derek hissed, tightening his grip slightly. You're disturbing paying members. As they passed the front desk, Maria stood up in alarm. Derek, wait, that's Marcus Johnson, he's taking care of a situation. Maria, Derek cut her off. This young man was trying to use the equipment without supervision. Before Maria could come around the desk, Derek had already pushed Marcus through the front doors. Next time, bring a parent or a membership card, Derek said coldly. We can't have just anyone walking and claiming special privileges. Marcus stood outside, shocked and hurt. For the first time in his life, he had been treated like an unwelcome stranger in the place he considered his second home. Marcus stood outside the gym, his hands shaking. He had never felt so embarrassed in his life. A few gym members walked past him, giving curious looks but not stopping to help. Marcus reached for his phone to call his father, then realized with horror that his phone was still in his gym bag inside. I need to get back in, Marcus thought, taking a deep breath. He turned and tried to open the door, but Derek was still standing there, arms crossed. I told you to wait out here, Derek said firmly. Your gym bag? Fine, I'll bring it out. While Derek went to get the bag, Mrs. Patterson hurried to the front desk. Maria, what just happened? She asked urgently. Maria looked upset. Derek kicked out Mr. Johnson's son. I tried to tell him, but he wouldn't listen. Mrs. Patterson's eyes widened. That man has gone too far this time. She pulled out her phone. I'm calling Raymond right now. Outside, Derek returned with Marcus's bag, dropping it on the ground next to him. There. Now wait for your parents to pick you up, Derek said. He turned to go back inside. Why are you doing this? Marcus asked, his voice small but steady. Is it because I'm black? Derek turned around slowly. Several people walking into the gym slowed down to listen. Don't make this about race, kid, Derek said, his voice low. This is about rules and who belongs here. I do belong here, Marcus insisted. Everyone knows me. Derek leaned closer. Listen, places like this have standards. Quality members pay good money for a certain atmosphere. You can't just walk in and claim your father owns the place. A woman walking by with her gym bag stopped completely now. Excuse me, but that boy comes here all the time with Raymond Johnson. Derek straightened up. Ma'am, I'm handling a security situation here. Please go inside and enjoy your workout. The woman looked uncertain but continued inside, giving Marcus a sympathetic look. Inside the gym, the situation was escalating. Maria had tried to follow Derek, but had to stay at the front desk as new members arrived. Mrs. Patterson was on the phone with Raymond. Raymond, you need to come back right now, she said urgently. That new trainer, Derek, just kicked Marcus out of the gym. He did, Kate. Raymond's voice was so loud that Mrs. Patterson had to hold the phone away from her ear. He didn't believe Marcus was your son, Mrs. Patterson continued. He was extremely rude about it. There's something wrong with that man, Raymond. The way he spoke to Marcus. I've been watching how he treats certain members for weeks now. I'm coming right now, Raymond said, his voice tight with anger. Meeting cancelled. Is Marcus okay? He's outside the gym. Derek wouldn't even let him back in to get his phone, Mrs. Patterson explained. Meanwhile, outside, Marcus sat on the bench near the entrance, biting back tears. He had never experienced such treatment before. His father had always protected him from the harsh realities that sometimes came with being a young black boy, but today those realities had hit him hard. A few more gym members walked past him, some recognizing him and looking confused about why he was sitting outside alone. "Marcus, are you okay?" One of his father's friends, Mr. Thompson, stopped to ask. "The new trainer kicked me out," Marcus explained quietly. "He didn't believe Dad owns the gym." Mr. Thompson's friendly expression changed to one of anger. "He did what? Wait here, I'm going to talk to this man." Inside, Derek was back at his station, talking to a client as if nothing had happened. Mr. Thompson marched up to him. "What gives you the right to kick out the owner's son?" he demanded loudly. Several nearby members stopped their workouts to watch. Derek looked surprised at being confronted. "Sir, I don't know what that kid told you, but—" "That kid is Marcus Johnson," Mr. Thompson interrupted. "His father Raymond built this place from nothing. Everyone here knows who he is except you, apparently." Derek's confident expression faltered slightly. He couldn't produce a membership card. "He doesn't need one," Mr. Thompson said, his voice rising. "His name is on the building." More members were gathering now, many nodding in agreement. Derek was starting to look uncomfortable with all the attention. Outside, Marcus saw his father's car pull into the parking lot at high speed. Raymond Johnson jumped out, his face a mask of barely controlled anger. "Dad," Marcus called, running to him. The confrontation was about to reach its peak. Raymond Johnson was not a man who lost his temper easily. As a business owner, he had learned to stay calm in difficult situations. But seeing his son sitting outside his own gym, looking hurt and confused, made Raymond's blood boil. "Marcus, are you okay?" Raymond asked, kneeling in front of his son. Marcus nodded but couldn't hide the pain in his eyes. "You wouldn't believe me, Dad. He said I was making up stories about you owning the gym." Raymond took a deep breath, putting both hands on Marcus's shoulders. "I'm going to handle this. You wait right here." "Dad, don't make a scene," Marcus whispered, worried about his father's unusually serious expression. Raymond gave his son a reassuring smile. "Don't worry, I'm just going to have a conversation." As Raymond walked toward the gym entrance, several members leaving the building recognized him immediately. "Mr. Johnson, good thing you're here," one woman said. "There's quite a situation inside." Raymond nodded politely but kept walking. When he entered the gym, the normal Saturday morning buzz of activity had changed. People were clustered in small groups, talking in low voices instead of working out. Many turned to look as Raymond walked in. Maria spotted him from the front desk and hurried over. "Mr. Johnson, I'm so sorry. I tried to tell Derek who Marcus was, but he wouldn't listen to me." "It's not your fault, Maria," Raymond said calmly. "Where is he now?" Maria pointed toward the free weights area where Derek was trying to continue a training session with a client. The client looked uncomfortable, clearly aware of the tension in the room. Mrs. Patterson intercepted Raymond before he reached Derek. "Raymond, I saw the whole thing. The way he spoke to Marcus was completely unacceptable, and it's not the first time I've seen him treat certain people differently." "Thank you for calling me Louise," Raymond said. "And thank you for looking out for Marcus." As Raymond approached, Derek was demonstrating a bicep curl to his client. He hadn't noticed the owner's arrival yet. Mr. Thompson, who had confronted Derek earlier, gave Raymond a nod of acknowledgement. "Excuse me," Raymond said, his voice level but firm. Derek turned, the dumbbell still in his hand. "I'm with a client right now. Can you wait for—" His voice trailed off as he took in Raymond's appearance. Recognition flickered in Derek's eyes, followed quickly by uncertainty. He had seen Raymond briefly when he was hired, but they hadn't interacted much since then. "Mr. Johnson," Derek said, lowering the weight. "I didn't expect you in today." "Clearly," Raymond replied. "I believe you've met my son, Marcus." The color drained from Derek's face. The client he was working with quietly stepped away, sensing the tension. "Your son?" Derek repeated, his confident demeanor crumbling. "Yes, my son, the boy you just kicked out of our family gym," Raymond said, emphasizing the word family. By now, a small crowd had gathered at a respectful distance. The regular members knew Raymond was not someone who created public scenes, so everyone was curious about what would happen next. There must be some misunderstanding, Derek said, trying to regain his composure. A young boy was in the main gym area unsupervised. I was simply enforcing safety policies. Is that all that happened? Raymond asked, looking around at the watching members. Because I've received several different accounts of the incident. Mrs. Patterson stepped forward. Tell them what you said about standards and quality members, Derek. Derek's eyes darted around, looking for support but finding none. I may have mentioned our premium membership standards, but... But what? Raymond interrupted. Did those standards somehow not apply to my son? I didn't know he was your son, Derek protested. Would it have mattered? Raymond asked. Should any child be treated the way you treated Marcus today? The gym had grown completely silent now. Even the usual background music seemed to have faded away. I think we should discuss this in private, Mr. Johnson, Derek said, lowering his voice. Raymond nodded. I agree. My office right now. As Raymond turned to lead the way to his office, he saw Marcus standing just inside the gym entrance, watching the scene unfold. Their eyes met, and Raymond gave his son a small nod of reassurance. The confrontation was moving to its next phase, behind closed doors. Raymond Johnson's office was located at the back of the gym. It was a simple room with fitness awards on the walls, family photos on the desk, and a large window overlooking the main workout area. As Raymond and Derek entered, Tony, the gym manager, was already waiting inside. Tony, thank you for coming so quickly, Raymond said, closing the door behind them. Tony looked troubled. Maria called me. I came as fast as I could. Raymond gestured to the chairs in front of his desk. Please sit down, both of you. Derek sat down stiffly, his eyes darting between Raymond and Tony. The confident trainer from earlier was now nervously adjusting his shirt collar. Raymond didn't sit behind his desk as he usually did for meetings. Instead, he leaned against the front of it, arms crossed, looking directly at Derek. Before we begin, I want to make something clear, Raymond said calmly. This gym was built on respect. Respect for fitness, respect for health, and most importantly, respect for people. All people. Derek nodded quickly. Of course, sir. I completely agree. Raymond studied Derek's face for a moment before continuing. Let's talk about what happened today with my son. Mr. Johnson, if I had known he was your son. Raymond held up his hand, stopping Derek mid-sentence. That's exactly the problem. Whether he was my son or not shouldn't matter. No child should be treated the way Marcus was treated today. Tony looked confused. What exactly happened? I've only heard bits and pieces. Raymond turned to Derek. Why don't you explain it to Tony? Derek shifted uncomfortably in his chair. There was a young boy in the main gym area. He didn't have a membership card. I was concerned about safety and liability issues. And? Raymond prompted. And I asked him to leave until his parents could be contacted, Derek finished. Raymond shook his head slowly. That's not the complete story, is it? Mrs. Patterson tells me you made comments about standards and quality members. What did you mean by that? Derek's forehead was now showing beads of sweat. I might have mentioned something about gym standards, but it wasn't meant in a negative way. Raymond walked to a small TV mounted on the wall and pressed a button on a remote. The screen came to life, showing security camera footage of the gym floor. He fast-forwarded to the incident with Marcus. There was no audio, but the body language was clear. They watched as Derek approached Marcus, his posture immediately aggressive. They saw Marcus trying to explain, and Derek cutting him off repeatedly. They watched as Derek put his hand on Marcus's shoulder, forcefully guiding him toward the exit. This doesn't look like a simple safety concern to me, Raymond said quietly, pausing the video. This looks like something else entirely. Derek stared at the frozen image on the screen, his mouth slightly open. We have audio recordings too, Tommy added. The security system captures everything near the entrance for safety purposes. Derek's face paled further. I was just doing my job. The boy was in an area he shouldn't have been in. Raymond pressed another button, and audio began to play through a small speaker. Listen, places like this have standards. Quality members pay good money for a certain atmosphere. You can't just walk in and claim your father owns the place. Derek's voice was unmistakable. The recording continued, capturing every word of the exchange outside the gym as well. When Raymond stopped the recording, the office was completely silent. Derek stared at the floor, unable to meet Raymond's eyes. "Would you like to revise your explanation?" Raymond asked quietly. Derek looked up, his expression desperate. "Look, I didn't mean anything racial by it. I just thought he was some random kid trying to sneak in. You know how kids are these days." "No, Derek, I don't know," Raymond replied. "My son doesn't lie about who he is, and he certainly doesn't deserve to be treated differently because of how he looks." Tommy shook his head in disgust. "I've been hearing complaints from some members about preferential treatment, but I didn't want to believe it was this bad." Derek looked between the two men, realizing his position was crumbling. "This has been blown way out of proportion. It was one mistake." Raymond stood up straight now, his full height making Derek shrink back slightly in his chair. "No, Derek, it wasn't one mistake. It was a pattern of behavior that finally became too obvious to ignore," Raymond said firmly. "At Elevation Fitness, we have a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination of any kind." The meeting was clearly reaching its conclusion, and Derek seemed to finally understand the seriousness of his situation. The office door opened, and Raymond stepped out first. Derek followed, his shoulders slumped and his earlier confidence completely gone. Tony came last, his expression serious. The gym had returned to some of its normal activity, but many members were still watching, curious about what had happened behind closed doors. Marcus sat on a bench near the juice bar, talking quietly with Mrs. Patterson. When he saw his father, he straightened up, trying to read Raymond's expression. Raymond walked directly to his son, putting a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You okay, buddy?" Marcus nodded. "I'm fine, Dad." Raymond turned to address the gym members who were nearby. "If I could have everyone's attention for a moment, please." The gym grew quiet as people stopped their workouts to listen. Even the music was turned down by someone at the front desk. "Today, an unfortunate incident occurred at our gym," Raymond began, his voice clear and steady. "My son Marcus was treated in a way that goes against everything Elevation Fitness stands for. I want to apologize to everyone who witnessed this, and to thank those of you who spoke up." Derek stood to the side, staring at the floor, his face red with embarrassment. "At Elevation Fitness, we have always believed that fitness is for everyone," Raymond continued. "No matter your age, background, or the color of your skin. That will never change as long as I own this gym." Several members nodded in agreement. Some even applauded briefly. "Derek Mills is no longer employed by Elevation Fitness, effective immediately," Raymond announced. Derek's head snapped up, though he didn't seem surprised by the decision. "I also want to announce that next week, we will be holding a special community meeting for all members and staff to discuss how we can ensure that Elevation Fitness remains a place where everyone feels welcome and respected. Your input will be valuable to us." Mrs. Patterson smiled approvingly. This was the Raymond Johnson she had known for years, a man who faced problems directly and turned them into opportunities for improvement. Raymond turned to Derek. "Please collect your personal belongings and return your staff keycard to Tony." Derek nodded silently and walked toward the staff room, avoiding eye contact with everyone. Once Derek was gone, the gym slowly returned to its normal Saturday routine. Raymond sat down next to Marcus on the bench. "I'm sorry that happened to you," Raymond said quietly. "It's not your fault, Dad," Marcus replied. "Maybe not directly, but as the owner, everything that happens here is ultimately my responsibility," Raymond explained. "I should have been more aware of what was going on." Mrs. Patterson patted Raymond's arm. "None of us spoke up soon enough, Raymond. We all saw signs but didn't want to cause trouble without being certain." Marcus looked thoughtful. "Dad, at this community meeting next week, can I say something too?" Raymond looked surprised. "Of course you can, but are you sure you want to?" Marcus nodded with determination. "I think people should hear how it felt from my side." Raymond felt a surge of pride. Despite the hurt he had experienced, Marcus was thinking about how to make things better. "That's very brave of you, son," Raymond said. "Your perspective will be important for everyone to hear." Maria approached them cautiously. "Mr. Johnson, I'm so sorry about what happened. I tried to tell Derek." "It's okay, Maria," Raymond assured her. "You did the right thing by trying to stop him." Tony joined them, holding Derek's keycard and staff shirt. "He's gone. I made sure he turned in everything." Raymond nodded. Thank you, Tony. Starting Monday, I want us to review our hiring procedures and staff training. This can't happen again. Already on it, boss, Tony replied, and I've asked our HR consultant to help develop a more comprehensive diversity training program. As they talked, several gym members came by to express their support. Some shared their own experiences with Derek, confirming that what happened with Marcus wasn't an isolated incident. By the time Raymond and Marcus left the gym that afternoon, something unexpected had happened. What began as a painful experience had somehow brought the Elevation Fitness community closer together. Members and staff alike had united around their shared values, proving that the gym's foundation was stronger than the actions of one prejudiced individual. Outside in the parking lot, Marcus looked back at the building with its familiar Elevation Fitness sign. "Dad," he asked, "can I still come to the gym on my own sometimes?" Raymond smiled, squeezing his son's shoulder. "Absolutely. This is your place too, Marcus. Don't ever forget that." 1 month had passed since the incident with Derek Mills. It was a sunny Saturday morning, and Elevation Fitness Center was busier than ever. A new sign hung in the entrance. "Everyone's journey to fitness is welcome here." Below it was a framed photo of Raymond and Marcus Johnson standing together, smiling. The community meeting Raymond had promised took place as scheduled. Over 100 members attended, filling the largest exercise room. People shared stories, suggestions, and sometimes difficult truths about their experiences. Tony had taken detailed notes, creating a list of changes the gym would implement. Marcus stood near the front desk, wearing a new blue polo shirt with Junior Fitness Coach embroidered on it. At 13 years old, he wasn't old enough to be a real employee, but Raymond had created this special position for him and other teens interested in fitness. "Nervous?" Raymond asked, straightening his son's collar. "A little," Marcus admitted. "What if nobody comes?" Raymond smiled. "They'll come. Trust me." At exactly 9 a.m., the doors opened for the special event. A group of children aged 10 to 14 walked in with their parents. They looked around curiously at the gym equipment. "Welcome to the first Elevation Fitness Youth Program," Raymond announced. "Today marks the beginning of something special, a program designed by my son Marcus after his experiences here." Marcus stepped forward, his voice a bit shaky at first but growing stronger as he spoke. "Hi everyone, I'm Marcus Johnson. Last month, something bad happened to me right here in this gym. I was treated unfairly because of how I look." He paused, taking a deep breath. "But instead of staying angry, my dad and I decided to create something good from it." The parents nodded encouragingly, some of them having heard about the incident through the gym's community. "This program is for all kids who want to learn about fitness, no matter who you are or what you look like," Marcus continued. "Everyone belongs here." The children broke into small groups, each assigned to a different station. Marcus led one group, showing them proper form for basic exercises, just as his father had taught him. In another corner of the gym, Tony was conducting a training session for the staff. The new diversity and inclusion training was now mandatory for all employees. Pictures of people of all ages, races, and body types exercising were displayed on the walls. Maria watched from the front desk, smiling at the positive changes. 3 new staff members had been hired, carefully selected, not just for their fitness knowledge, but for their people skills and commitment to creating a welcoming environment. Mrs. Patterson arrived for her usual workout, pausing to watch the children's program in action. She noticed Raymond standing nearby. "You turned something ugly into something beautiful," she told him. "That's real leadership." Raymond shook his head modestly. It was Marcus who pushed for this youth program. He said if he had felt unwelcome, other kids probably did too. "Like father, like son," Mrs. Patterson replied with a smile. Across the gym, a new member was signing up. The man had heard about Elevation Fitness from a colleague who praised its inclusive atmosphere. "I tried other gyms," the man told Maria, "but I never felt comfortable. My friend said this place is different." "We try to be," Maria replied proudly. "Everyone's fitness journey matters here." By noon, the first youth session had ended successfully. The children left chattering excitedly about what they had learned, many already asking their parents when they could return. Marcus found his father in his office, reviewing some paperwork. "How did it go?" Raymond asked, though he had been watching proudly from a distance. Great, the kids loved it, Marcus said, his eyes bright with excitement. Dad, I think I know what I want to do when I grow up. Let me guess, Raymond said with a smile. Run the gym? Marcus nodded. Not just run it. Make it even better. Make sure everyone feels welcome, like you do. Raymond looked at his son, seeing not just a boy but a future leader who had already learned one of life's most important lessons: how to transform pain into purpose. You know what, Marcus? Raymond said, putting his arm around his son's shoulders. I think Elevation Fitness will be in very good hands someday. Outside the office window, the gym was full of people from all walks of life, moving, stretching, lifting, and talking. The negative energy that Derek had brought was completely gone, replaced by something stronger and more lasting, a true community built on respect. What had started as one person's prejudice had ultimately strengthened the very values it had tried to undermine, and at the center of it all was a boy who had refused to let one bad experience define his relationship with the place his family had built.